Chapter 11, Lesson 2 on congruent triangles. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the definition of congruent figures. And congruent figures are figures that have the same shape and size. So they are exactly the same. And corresponding parts are the parts that match or are the same. So when we look at angles, which two angles are the same? Which two sides are the same as each other? Okay, so I'm going to look at these triangles and I'm going to name their congruent parts. And triangles have 3 angles and 3 sides, so there are always 6 congruent parts. And I'm going to start with their angles. And angles are marked with by congruence with these little arcs in them. And so we can say, well, angle A is congruent. And so I look at angle A and I say it has one little mark in there. So I find the angle that has one mark over here and I say it's congruent to angle Z. Angle B is congruent to angle Y. And angle C is congruent to angle X. And then there's sides. So I say that side AB, and again, sides are marked with congruence by the little marks on them, is congruent to side. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. It's congruent to side YZ or ZY. But if I put the A first, I want to put the angle that goes with the A. So ZY is how I want to state that. And then side BC is congruent to side YX. And then side CA is congruent to side XZ. And those are my 6 congruent parts of the triangle. Now I can also make a congruence statement, and what that is I'm comparing this entire triangle and saying how it's congruent to this triangle. So just for space, I'm going to put mine up here. My congruent statement would be triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, and this is where I have to be careful the order I put the letters. Z, because it's congruent to A, B is congruent to Y, and X. And so that would be my congruent statement. Okay? Now, if I'm asked to name congruent parts, and all I have is the names of my congruent statement of the triangles, I can still name my congruent parts because I know that angle J is congruent to angle M. So angle J is congruent to angle M, angle K is congruent to angle N, and angle L is congruent to angle P. And the sides, I can do the same thing. JK is congruent to MN. I also could say that as KJ is congruent to NM. I can reverse the order. Side KL is congruent to NP, and side JL is congruent to MP.